Hi, I'm Ron Oltmanns, and I'm a results leader.
You're listening to ResultsLeader.fm. Being a thought leader is easy. Getting results is hard. This show is for the results leader who lives and dies by their results. Here is your host and Chief Results Leader, Jonathan Rivera.
Yes, y'all. It is time once again for the only show on the internet dedicated to the coaches and consultants who are getting results for their clients. Welcome back to another edition of ResultsLeader.fm. So stoked that you're here. And as always, another amazing interview today. You're going to find out how self-awareness and radical honesty unlock success. Why hiring the most qualified person can actually hurt your business, and how being selfish is an advantage. Today, leadership coach Ron Oltmanns joins us on the show. Let's jump in. Ron, welcome to the show. Are you ready to rock this thing?
I'm ready. Come on.
Let's give our listeners a quick win. What book have you given most as a gift?
You know, over the years, I've given a lot of business books away. And most recently, like the last couple of years, is a book that I wrote myself called Name My Feelings Workbook. I found that a book that has a lot of content in it often gets put on the shelf. And I like a workbook. And I find that people have trouble actually working through their feelings. So, that's where the Name My Feelings Workbook came from. And a whole bunch of people have been getting copies. I mean, they asked for it and they get it free from me. So.
Lovely. Name My Feelings Workbook. All right.
Yeah, you can get it off my website. It's right there on the homepage. I mean, it's the giveaway. It's what I want people to have as the first impression.
Perfect. Now, tell us a story of how an apparent failure set you up for later success.
Wow, there's a lot to choose from. I would go back, though. Origins are important. So when I was in my late 20s and I was teaching in a university at the time, my wife and I wanted to get into business, and we bought one of these franchise businesses in a box. In fact, it had several business ideas in it, and did our due diligence, thought we were, golden, and we were so smart. It was a heavy price, but a huge potential. It looked very promising. We started on it, got to work on some of these business ideas, and took it into the community. Within about a year and a half, the company supporting that folded. Went into bankruptcy, and was investigated by the FTC, the Fair Trade, Commission, all that. So it wasn't a great thing because we lost our support and we were out that money. But what it really led to were some strong relationships that, took me off in a whole different direction for my life and in business in the community. Like I got a mentor out of it, someone that I met as I was introducing some of these business ideas. And I think the first and probably the most important lesson about business that I got from it was resilience. Just how are you going to bounce back when you've got money sunk in that you're not getting back? And what are you going to do whenever you face that kind of failure and disappointment? And you dust yourself off and you get back up and you get back in the ring and you play all out.
Give us some tips. Give us some practical tips on how, because we've all had the setbacks. We've all had the failures. And it's hard to get back up sometimes. So how did you get yourself back up? How can our listeners maybe lean into your experience? So
the first thing was I didn't want to admit that I'd made a mistake. Even as I tell the stories, like I had done my due diligence, I don't want to look like a fool. And the fact is, Jonathan, when I go back and think of, I was, in my late 20s, I was foolish. I should, as I think about it, should have asked for more help from other mentors, should have reached out. And, my dad was a businessman, run it by dad. But the last thing a 20-year-old wants to do is ask their parents for advice. But what I found was the more I tried to kind of hide that story and hold it back, and kind of put on a good face, I just wasn't getting anywhere. And I think the key to bouncing back is to just admit, if you had an epic fail, I failed. You got to tell yourself the truth, and you have to start being okay with that and even put it front and center. That's the last thing I wanted to do, but to start telling people, man, we made a bad choice here. We had some bad decisions, and that's how we learn. And I found that when I did that, people, instead of rejecting me, respected me and could relate to me. And so what I'm learning still after all these years in business is the more real we are, the more that we, accept our failures, accept who we are, and share that. People are inspired, people can relate, we build connection. And that's the key to resilience, because you build your network around you.
That's powerful. What I heard you say was ask more questions, get an outside perspective, and most importantly, and this is the toughest one for me, for you, for everyone listening, admit the darn mistake. Just
admit it. It's an ugly thing, but you've got to admit it.
Absolutely, man. So what would you say is the most worthwhile investment that you have ever made?
So this one looks a little different. The most worthwhile, we had a very successful business in the 2000s. And here's the strange thing. When there was this financial meltdown in 2008, and a lot of people were losing their business, losing money and all that sort of thing, business was great for us. It was booming. We were doing really well. And I was able to cash out in 2009. And the best investment I made was 2010, we took a trip to Asia to visit my wife's family, actually. But on the way, her family's in Singapore. On the way, we stopped in China, and I met some business people there. And we made a decision to go to move my family. I had two young boys at the time, less than 10. And we relocated to Shanghai in 2011 to take up a business opportunity. And it cost us quite a bit to invest in that. But hands down, it was worth it for what I learned in the business, for the people I met, for the return for my family of us getting close together and bonding through that experience, for my boys being exposed to another culture, learning another language. And we still look back on those years as it was tough, but it was like the years that we look to as like, man, we really came together as a family there. So it was a great investment.
In the last 5 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
So the belief, and it kind of goes back to what I shared with you out of the biggest failure or an apparent failure that set me up for success, is that self-awareness and radical honesty is really the key to success. And I have to be willing to be honest with myself first, and then honest with other people. So the way that I've been practicing that and making it a habit is taking up a writing habit, especially this year. The past 12 months, I've always kind of kept a journal ad hoc off and on, but to start writing 5-6 times a week, even if it was just one page for a day, it's been very transformational. It helps me look at my thoughts and my beliefs on the page. It allows me a chance to get out some of my emotions and my feelings, and it helps me clarify things. So that's really what it is.
Help us understand the difference between radical honesty and maybe being overly critical on yourself. What's the difference between those two? Because we can be overly negative, overly critical, but I know that radical honesty is not that.
Radical honesty is, it's facing reality. It's admitting what is so. So I'm one of those that I probably, even though I'm not what, people would think of as the optimist, I'm much more the realist. But I tend to be also what my wife says. I'm very confident in myself, and maybe overconfident in my abilities, maybe, because she tends to be very self-critical. And so I'm often helping and calibrating with her, correcting and saying, wait a minute, you're being too tough here. Like, it's not that bad. You're not that bad. And I think she gives me the corrective to say, sometimes you're not that good, So I find that, in life and in business, you need that partner. You need I was going to say counterpart, your opposite. I'm kind of struggling for the right word here, because it's like, I can think of the word in Mandarin Chinese just perfect. It's 对方, it's like the person that's face to face with you. It's the person you face that you are it's like your mirror reflection, but it may be your shadow side too. So that distinction that you asked about, Jonathan, radical honesty versus this sort of unhealthy self-criticism, you need to know how you're wired. Are you naturally wired to be overly critical of yourself? You need someone who's going to see the other side and remind you of that. And if you're wired to be overly optimistic and thinking too highly of yourself, you need someone who's going to kind of cut you down to size and keep you honest. So you're not going to find the answer in yourself. You've got to find it in community with the right people.
Dude, I just had that moment with my wife.
Right, exactly.
I felt so good about something I did. And I said, I'm getting good at being awesome. I don't know why I said that. And she's like, you're not that awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, cupcake. I'll take it.
She's telling you the truth and dropping a truth bomb on you. And you're like, I know she's right, but I hate it when she's right.
Man, I got a kick out of it. But let's talk about bad recommendations. What would you say are some bad recommendations in your area of expertise?
Hire the most qualified person you can. Okay, that's a business chestnut, it's like an old saw. Hire the most qualified person you can. Here's a problem. Today, people look so qualified on paper, and you hire them, and then you realize what you really got afterwards. Or you disqualify the people who would actually be perfect in the business, but they don't look good on paper, or they don't have the check the boxes, the skill set, the experience, all the stuff that you thought you needed. And you realize that, man, what I thought I needed, I was looking for a robot, but I actually got a person who's even better than that robot I had in mind. So the bad advice is, hire the most qualified people you can. Now, I'm not saying be foolish, but I find business owners have to be more open-minded and look below the surface and even challenge their own thinking about what are you really looking for? What's really going to add value in your business? Is it really that skill set or that experience? People want 5 years experience in a software that was invented last year. I mean, it's not really that bad, but a lot of job descriptions I've looked at, it's kind of that bad. The second piece of bad advice is don't waste money training people who are just going to leave you anyway. And it's like, dude, if you're not going to train people and invest in them, and what if they stay? And you've got underqualified people serving your customers, not providing as much value as they could. So it's like, it's never wasted money to train and develop your people, especially if you're being as diligent and investing in yourself as the leader, because the best money you're going to invest in your people is in yourself so that you can lead them and not hold them back. Sometimes just get out of their way.
What do you say to people that think that idea of investing in yourself is selfish?
It is. It's totally selfish. And it's selfish in a good way. So I'm a contrarian, if you can't already tell. It is selfish. And so, again, let's tell the truth. You need some selfishness, because just being nice, just doing what everyone else is doing isn't going to cut it. And if everyone else is kind of getting by and not investing in themselves, well, that gives you an advantage in the marketplace. That makes you more of a value added, more of a results getter. And that's the best thing you can do for your people and for yourself. That's what I would say ensures business continuity. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer to me.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled program for a public service announcement. We're going to get right back into this show, but I wanted to ask you a question. If you have been listening to the show for any amount of time and you've picked up even one single tip, then I need your help. Get the word out. Tell people about resultsleader.fm. Share it on social media. Share it on your email. Share it anywhere. Hashtag resultsleaderfm. Now let's jump back into the interview. Ron, why do results matter?
Everything else is just talk. Results are what make a difference. Everything else is just talk or BS. People just sitting around kind of shooting off the top of their head. I don't know if I can say that on this program, but you can edit it out later.
we're, we're good. We're good. So let's think back over the last 5 years. What new realization has helped you get better results for your clients?
So people hire me, meaning they decide to do business with me based on my expertise and the promise of what I can do for them. I mean, that's just the truth. That's how most people make the decision. But when I had the realization that that's absolutely unimportant, insufficient for what they're really hiring me for, which is when they get value, they start seeing new ways of doing things, of looking at their business. They make better choices. They take better actions. Well, in other words, when they get better results, that's what really solidifies or reinforces their decision in the first place. And so I think that's a realization, Jonathan, of like, I cannot rest on my past experience or what I think qualifies me. Going back to our earlier, point, I really have to see it's in the client's own decisions, their own choices, their actions. It's them having the insight and then taking action on it. That's what creates value. That helps them make results. And so I just get to facilitate it. I'm not the genius. No matter how much I know, how much I've learned, how much I can bring to the table, it's not about me.
What area of your business would you like to see better results?
So this is something I'm working on, is having a stronger network of professionals. And it's for a twofold purpose. When I've been most successful in the past is whenever I've brought other people into the business and I've intentionally kind of passed on things like, I'm not the right person to deal with this. I need to get someone better able, and again, it really is a hit to my ego because I'd like to think I'm omni capable. I can do it all. I can figure it all out. I can learn everything. And the fact is, maybe I could given enough time, but that's not what serves the client. Sometimes they need faster results. Often they need someone else besides me. And so where I'd like to see better results is getting a wider professional network, both people I can hire in-house and also people that I can send, clients to for the business when it's a better fit for them. So really act in the interest of people and not be attached to the fact that, it's going to be a net gain for me financially. Maybe it won't be, but it will be a net long-term gain for my business if I'm disciplined in choosing the right clients and sending people to others who can better serve them.
What results are you most proud of, Ron?
I'm thinking about several individuals where through executive coaching, we were able to save their career from derailing. So I've sometimes brought in by a sponsor, by an executive who is saying, wow, this person's struggling and they need some help. They need to work with someone. And sometimes I'm brought in by the executive himself who says, they're not struggling, but it's like they are running hot and just doing things well. And the reason they hired me is they are like one of these optimizers and they're trying to take it to the next level. And through our engagement, I mean, what I really feel pride in is that we were able to see like the trajectory they were on was about to burn them out and, have a lot of the team leave. And they saw, oh, wow, there's a better way to do this, but it's going to require reinvention. And so helping them save their business before there were any troublesome signs. And so, I think those are the most fulfilling. I've had a few turnaround situations too, helping a troubled business. Those are tough, Jonathan. I'm not an expert in turnaround. And so I've learned like that's high cost for me. And that's why I need to find turnaround experts. That goes to, the earlier point. And so learning what I do really well and kind of sticking to my discipline. And what I do well is helping leaders grow their self-awareness and grow their teams in the process. And if I will stick in that lane, man, we can really go to town.
What I hear you saying is you help make the best get better. That's kind of what I'm hearing you say there.
Well, Well, yeah. And, that could sound pretty elitist, about, you're just going for the best and all that. But it's like, this is Results Leader, podcast. Anyone listening to this, I think, is like, you should already be functioning on some level of, you're getting some results and you're doing well. But the difference between the top 5% and the top 1%, man, it's like sometimes small changes make a huge difference the closer you get to the top. And so when you say it like, I take, the best and help them get better. Yeah, I kind of do work on optimizing. And it's sometimes those small changes, because like I said just now with the turnaround situation, oftentimes in a turnaround, there's some fundamental things you're missing that you're not taking care of. And I'd say that's often like low-hanging fruit, or that's obvious. You don't need a consultant to come in to tell you what you're doing wrong. If you just listen to your people, they would tell you, our customer service is off, or our product isn't, serving the market anymore. We're out of touch, or our service levels aren't. And so all of those things are like the basics. But let's say the business is humming along. The most dangerous thing for a business is success, because you get complacent and you think that you're golden. It's like what you said just a moment ago about your wife. It's like when you start thinking, I'm hot stuff, and I got this figured out. That's the most dangerous moment, because are you ready for the next thing that's going to come out of nowhere and hit you? Or Southwest right now, the airline had, thousands of cancellations this week, travel holiday. And it's like, man, they were so good for so many years, their culture and people just singing their praises. But what people didn't realize is the systems weren't working. They weren't upgrading systems behind the scenes, out of the limelight, when they needed to stick to those basics. And it's like, when you overlook that in your business, it catches up with you someday.
Brother, I know that our listeners are going to want more from you. Where can they get it?
Well, our website, leadskill.com. That's LEADSKILL. I have to spell it out because some people say, is it lead skill? But it's Lead Skill is our website. And that's where we have all of our resources. We have a shop there too, where you can buy my books and, get in touch with us.
Excellent. We will be sure to share links in the show notes. Thank you for hanging out with us, Ron. And thank you, Results Leader, for tuning in. Another episode is in the can. That is a wrap for another edition of ResultsLeader.fm. If you are out there getting results for your clients and you want to be featured on the show, go to ResultsLeader.fm now and apply to be on the show. And if you love what you're hearing, share the show, give us a rating and review, do anything to help us get the message out there. Thought leadership is easy, but results leadership is hard. We'll catch you on the next one.
This is the podcastfactory.com.